Look, I know it's the middle of July, but if you're a Chargers fan, this next week might be the most important one of the entire offseason. Uniform reveal, training camp is kicking off, contract decisions possibly coming down, everything is about to ramp up fast. And while most people are getting hyped about the surface level stuff, like the new jerseys, I've been digging into what really matters. The guys who are on the bubble, the young talent who might break out, and the vets who are fighting just to keep a role. And I'm telling you right now, this training camp is going to define the season. So, here's my question for you. Who's your dark horse breakout candidate going into training camp? Not the obvious ones. I'm talking about a name that no one's talking about yet, but should be. Drop it in the comments. I'll be replying to a bunch of them. Now let's get into it. What's up, Chargers fans? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Chargers. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Bolts. I'll start by saying this. There's something special about training camp at the Bolt. If you've ever been there in person, you know exactly what I mean. The energy, the proximity to the players, the sound of pads cracking during 11 on 11, it's just a different experience. You're not watching from the nosebleeds. You're 10 feet away from the action. And yeah, it humanizes these guys. You start to see who's vocal, who's grinding, who's bonding with teammates, and who's just blending in. There's also a lot of nostalgia for fans who've been doing this for a while. Getting a jersey signed at Qualcomm, watching young rookies flash in real time. And it brings us to a theme that'll run through this entire video. Availability matters, and it might matter more this year than any other. Let's talk about KeAndre Lambert-Smith, because this guy has become a bit of a myth in Chargers circles. Some fans out there are acting like he's about to overtake Quentin Johnston and start week 1. Let's slow down. He's a 5th-round pick. Talented? Sure. Good college tape? Yeah, some. But here's the reality. He hasn't practiced. And you can't win a role if you're not on the field. We've seen this story before. A day 3 pick flashes potential, the fan base buys in, and then injuries, lack of availability, or just being behind the curve pushes them to the bottom of the depth chart. Think about guys like Joe Reed, Brendan Rice, even Cornelius Johnson, who's probably already out. These weren't bad players. They just didn't get enough reps to matter. Meanwhile, Trey Harris, who doesn't even have a contract yet, has been out there every day, making plays, showing up in reports, earning his spot. That stuff adds up. Sanjay Lal, the wide receivers coach, has even said these young guys are still playing catch-up to the vets. And if Lambert-Smith isn't even in the mix early in camp, then at best, he's a game day inactive. At worst, he doesn't make the roster. And here's the hard truth. You don't get second chances easily in the NFL, especially if you're not a top 100 pick. Chargers fans need to temper expectations here. Yes, there's talent, but if he wants to be more than a depth piece, he has to get on the field. Fast. Now let's pivot to the linebacker room, because this might be one of the most quietly competitive battles on the roster. Let me say this. Junior Colson was one of my favorite evaluations coming out of the draft. Loved the tape at Michigan. Checks all the boxes. High IQ physical, sideline to sideline. But here's where it gets tricky. The Chargers have options. Troy Dye has been quietly reliable. He's not flashy, but he's steady. Denzel Perryman has a defined role, especially on early downs. And of course, you've got Daiyan Henley, who's probably LB1 already. So where does that leave Coulson? Well, if he doesn't pop during camp, and I mean really show that he can diagnose quickly, cover efficiently, and stay in phase with NFL speed, then he might start the season as a backup. And again, that's not necessarily the end of the world, but it changes the trajectory of how this team views him going forward. Because next offseason, they're probably going all in. And if they feel like Coulson hasn't developed fast enough, don't be shocked if they go sign a linebacker or spend a premium pick to pair with Henley. It's not about job security. Coulson is safe. It's about role. And if you want to be a 3-down linebacker in this league, you have to earn it, especially when your competition has already shown they can hold it down. Now, I want to talk about the defensive side of the ball more broadly because let's be real. The coaching staff there just has more credibility. So when I think about potential dark horse breakout players, I'm looking at the defense. One name that stood out, RJ Mickens. Now, he's not a household name. 7th-round pick, played at Clemson. But he's got NFL bloodlines, he can tackle, and he plays with an edge. What I like most is that he doesn't look like your typical 7th rounder. There's something polished about his game. His man coverage skills are solid. and he's not afraid to come downhill and hit somebody. And based on the way this staff talks about him, I think they're going to find a way to use him. If injuries hit the safety room, and let's be honest, they always do, Mickens could step into a role quickly. Not saying he's a Pro Bowler, but as a box safety in dime looks, he fits. Another defensive name I want to highlight is Otido Abania. And look, I get it, he's not new. But the guy was just buried last year in a sea of inconsistent play. Now though, quietly, he might be the biggest beneficiary of a weak offensive interior in camp. He's big, he's athletic, and if you really go back and look at the tape, he was flashing before the injury. This coaching staff invested a lot in him. I don't think they've forgotten. Okay, now flip back to the offense. One of the rookies I'm watching closely, Oronde Gadsden II. We didn't hear a ton about him post-draft, but he's been mentioned in almost every single write-up coming out of minicamp. He's getting open, he's getting targets. And most importantly, he's showing chemistry with the quarterbacks. Now, I don't expect him to be a starter, but if there's one name who could lead the team in receiving during preseason, it's him. Especially with Trey Harris and others potentially getting limited run. If he keeps stacking good practices, don't be surprised if he plays his way into a roster spot. He's the kind of guy who thrives when things go live. But the real star of this rookie class? That might end up being Omarion Hampton. Physically, the guy looks like a different breed, built like a tank, explosive. And in this Greg Roman offense, running backs who hit holes decisively are going to eat. If he shows he can pass, protect, and hold on to the ball, I think he'll get plenty of red zone touches. He might not lead the team in yards, but I could absolutely see him leading in rushing touchdowns. Now let's talk quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, to be specific. It feels like Taylor Heinicke is locked in as quarterback 2, and I agree. He's steady. He knows how to operate an NFL offense, and if Herbert ever has to miss time, Heinicke is the guy you want stepping in. But Trey Lance is going to be the talk of training camp. He's mobile. He'll make a few highlight runs. The media will go crazy. The fans will go crazy. And suddenly, you'll hear people asking if he should be QB2. Let me just say, don't fall for it. His ceiling might be exciting, but his consistency is not there yet. And with a playoff-ready roster, you can't afford to experiment at quarterback. Okay, before closing this video, I want to discuss one more thing. Expectations. I've seen people ask whether guys like Zion Johnson can become all-pro this year. And look, I love the optimism, but let's slow down. He was below average last year. If he jumps to above average this season, that's a win, especially in a contract year where the team's got decisions to make. Same goes for guys like Becton or even Bozeman at center. This offensive line doesn't need to be elite. It needs to be reliable. And honestly, that applies to the entire roster. This isn't about stars, it's about depth. It's about role players stepping up. Because this coaching staff, especially on defense, will find a way to maximize whoever shows they're ready.